Interns and residents at the nation's major hospitals tendered their resignations and are set to quit en masse tomorrow. Some already started leaving their workplaces today, creating real concern about a vacuum in medical services. Following the diplomatic landmark last week, South Korea expects a broader partnership with Cuba, a country with abundant resources like nickel and cobalt. We take a closer look at what cooperation could be possible. Congress today kicked off its last extraordinary session of the 21st Assembly. Key discussions range from tackling low birth rate to finalizing electoral districts for the April election. It's February 19, 2024. This is Newscenter. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yeongdong. We start with concerns growing over a medical crisis. Interns and residents at the nation's big hospitals tendered their resignations and are set to leave their workplaces en masse starting tomorrow. In fact, some have already done so. Our correspondent Choi Soo-hyung is at one of the hospitals where action by doctors is taking place. Soo-hyung, how is the situation there?
Good evening, Jungmin. The collective action by doctors, including resignation by residents, has potentially begun in earnest, and concerns about the medical crisis are growing together. I'm now in front of the Severance Hospital located in Sinchon, Seoul, where some residents have stopped their working starting today against the government's plan to expand medical school quota by 2,000 per year. In the Severance Hospital, surgery schedules have already been adjusted, and the authorities here say the medical chaos that everyone worries about has not happened yet. This is in part due to emergency response systems after the doctors' action, such as reducing the operation of surgical rooms to 50 to 60% of normal capacity. This is one of the major teaching hospitals in the country, part of the so-called Big Five, along with Seoul National University and the Catholic University of Korea Seoul St. Mary's Hospitals and Seoul Asan and Samsung Medical Centers. Last week, the Korean Intern Residents Association announced that all residents at these hospitals and the other nationwide were scheduled to submit their resignations by Monday and will cease working after 6 a.m. on Tuesday. As of last Friday, 715 residents at 23 hospitals from across the country have submitted their resignations. However, none have been officially accepted so far. The number of trainee doctors at the Big Five is around 2,700, or over 20% of the total in Korea. They play a crucial role in emergency medical care, and should they proceed with their collective resignations, this will inevitably lead to significant gaps in patient care.
And Soo-hyung, what do the authorities have to say about this?
Currently, there's no change in the government's stance in its refusal to accept doctors' demand and calling their collective action intolerable. The Health Ministry has warned that it could revoke doctors' licenses if they do not comply with return-to-work orders. The government has issued the order to 103 doctors who have refused to work, with 3 of them failing to comply. Also, all efforts will be made to minimize inconvenience for patients. Prime Minister Han Duk-soo visited the National Medical Center today at around 3 p.m., inspecting on-site countermeasures. Han also held a meeting this morning to come up with measures to combat any collective action, including expanding telemedicine services.
To ensure patients face no difficulties in accessing medical facilities, we will fully allow non-contact medical consultations in case doctors walk off their jobs.
In addition, the Seoul Metropolitan Government is running emergency rooms at 4 municipal hospitals, Seoul and Porame Medical Centers, and Dongbu and Seonam hospitals, while extending the operating hours of public health centers in 25 districts until 8 p.m. on weekdays. That's all I have for now. Back to you, Jungmin.
That was our Choi Soo-hyung from Severance Hospital. Thank you. Following the diplomatic landmark last week, the presidential office here says Seoul's formal ties with Havana also hold significant economic implications. Our correspondent Woo Soo-young explains.
South Korea and Cuba's new diplomatic relations could lead to a win-win partnership in areas like energy and minerals for advanced technologies. That's according to Seoul's presidential office on Sunday, in press material on the anticipated benefits of bilateral ties, which were formalised last Wednesday. Beyond the diplomatic significance of forging relations with the Latin American country, which has long held friendly relations with the North Korean regime, Seoul says a permanent mission in Havana can steadily build the foundation for greater economic cooperation, despite the current level of trade being restricted by US sanctions on Cuba. As of 2022, South Korean exports to Cuba hit some $14 million and imports roughly $7 million, mostly through third countries. The presidential office says it expects trade volume to expand through direct trade, noting that Cuba is the world's 5th largest producer of nickel and holds the 4th largest reserves of cobalt, which are both key materials needed to produce secondary batteries. It also produces marine products such as sea cucumbers and items such as luxury cigars and rum. Also, due to the Caribbean country's power generation and infrastructural needs, including telecommunications, as well as demand for household goods and electronics, there is a wide-ranging gap for Korean companies to fill. There are also prospects for expanding development assistance to Cuba and research collaborations in healthcare and the biosector with Cuba's wealth of medical experts. As much as the spread of Korean popular culture has been credited for formalizing bilateral ties, Seoul anticipates greater opportunities for exchanges in cultural events, tourism and sports, including baseball. The presidential office added that once its diplomatic presence has been established, Seoul intends to provide 24-hour consular assistance to Korean nationals in Cuba, and also seek out descendants of Korean independence activists who contributed to efforts to liberate Korea from Japan's colonization. Yeongdong, Arirang News.
Earlier this month, the South Korean Unification Ministry released a report on the reality of the North Korean economy and society based on testimonies of more than 6,000 defectors. Minister Kim Yong-ho says it's K-dramas that are driving people in North Korea to want to leave the regime. Our North Korean affairs correspondent Kim Jong-sil sat down with him.
While K-dramas have fans around the world, there are also those watching in secret, in hiding in North Korea. Fans in other countries may admire the unique plots, dramatic twists, and of course the actors. But for some people in North Korea, watching K-dramas led them to a decision that could cost them their lives.
The report suggests that more than 83% of North Korean defectors watched South Korean dramas when they were in the North. When they watch South Korean dramas, they can feel that South Korean society is free and wealthy. And the reality of South Korea in these dramas is different from what the North's regime has brainwashed its people to believe.
Stairway to Heaven, My Love from the Star, and Autumn in My Heart, classics for K-drama fans, were among those frequently mentioned.
The number of defectors last year was about 3 times higher than in 2022. It was 196 people, and about half of them were the MZ generation of North Korea in their 20s and 30s. The number proves that K-dramas have a big impact on young people in the North.
The spread of K-dramas actually poses such a threat to the regime that back in 2020, Pyongyang made a stricter law that bans North Koreans from watching it. Those caught spreading K-dramas could now even face the death penalty. With the regime tightening its already tight controls, the actual lives of the residents aren't getting better. The report says 7 out of 10 people said they had not received any food rations from the state since Kim Jong-un became leader. A whopping 38.3% said they have never been to a hospital. And almost no one in North Korea has ever used the internet.
Surely, I think Leader Kim Jong-un also knows the suffering of the residents, and that if this continues, the regime isn't sustainable. Where is he heading with this?
I think if the Kim Jong-un regime doesn't give up on developing nuclear and missile programs, it'll fall into a military dilemma. If the regime keeps spending its resources on nuclear and missile development, the economic hardships within North Korea will get worse. And people's feelings will be against the regime even more.
Can doubt fill the minds of North Korean people? The report says this is already happening, and the number of doubters is increasing. 56.3% of the respondents who have recently defected said they feel negative about the succession planning that keeps power within the Kim family.
What's the reason for South Korean government to let the international community know the reality of North Korean residents?
North Korea's poor human rights situation and security issues cannot be separated. So, to bring righteous changes in the North Korean society would help not just its residents, but also help bring peace on the Korean Peninsula, Northeast Asia, and for the world.
The minister added that North Korean residents would wish to reunify not with China nor Russia, but with South Korea, and that Seoul will continue to strive for reunification that guarantees peace and freedom. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
The 21st National Assembly of South Korea today officially kicked off what will be its last extraordinary session. Coming up are a government questioning session and key discussions like finalizing electoral districts. As our political correspondent Lee Si-hoo reports, it could be a tough road ahead.
On Monday, South Korea's National Assembly held an opening ceremony recognizing the start of the 21st Assembly's last extraordinary session. The Speaker of the Assembly, Kim Jin-pyo, in his opening remarks said that it's time for a change.
We are in desperate need of politics that can give new hope and courage to the people. We need to create a National Assembly that overcomes the crisis and prepares for the future.
Speaker Kim said these last 3 months of the 21st Assembly are its last chance for its quote heyday and vowed to do his utmost best until the very last day. He also highlighted that the Assembly and the administration should work to tackle the country's low birth rate. One way to do so, he says, is through a constitutional amendment.
If we respond to core causes of the low birth rate, such as childcare, education, and housing issues by identifying them as national tasks in the Constitution, then we will be able to gain people's trust.
Meanwhile, floor leaders of the main opposition Democratic Party and the ruling People Power Party will give speeches to the Assembly on Tuesday and Wednesday, respectively. From Thursday to Friday, the Assembly will question the government. A plenary session is scheduled for next week where the parliament will discuss pending issues. One of them, finalizing electoral districts for the upcoming election in April. With less than 2 months to go until the 22nd general election here in South Korea, fierce talks and clashes are expected between the ruling and opposition parties during this February extraordinary session. Lee Si-hoo, Arirang News.
The recent death of Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny has sent shockwaves within his supporters at home and diplomatic circles overseas, especially amid speculation of foul play. Lee Seung-jae has details.
Jailed Russian opposition figure and one of Russian President Vladimir Putin's most outspoken critics, Alexei Navalny, died at the age of 47 on Friday. Navalny made global headlines in 2020 when he was poisoned with a nerve agent but survived following treatment in Germany before returning to Russia in 2021. Upon his return, he was arrested on charge of extremism and imprisoned before being sent to the IK3 prison colony in the Yamalno-Nenets region within the Arctic Circle. Nicknamed Polar Wolf, only those accused of the very worst crimes are sent there. While the cause of death is still unclear, bruising discovered on his body has raised suspicions. Local reports say bruises were found on his head and chest at a hospital close to the prison. One medical source said that the injuries described by those who saw them appeared to be from convulsions. The source added that if a person is convulsing and others try to hold him down, bruising can appear, adding that the bruises on the chest can be a result of cardiac massage. Prison officials also said that Navalny said he felt ill before going off for a walk and collapsing. The sudden death and speculation that he had been convulsing have led some watchers to believe he was poisoned once again. The news of Navalny's death drew a forceful reaction from Western leaders, including U.S. President Joe Biden, who blamed Putin, saying that what has happened to Navalny is yet more proof of Putin's brutality. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, in Germany, Russia's invasion of Ukraine was on the agenda at the 60th Munich Security Conference this past weekend, with global policymakers and pundits also addressing a peace framework to halt the violence in Gaza. Lee Eun-jin has more.
Over the weekend, world leaders came together in Munich to deliberate on the world's most pressing security challenges. The annual Munich Security Conference also serves as a barometer of U.S.-European relations. On the agenda was NATO's support for Ukraine amidst Russian aggression. The discussions followed remarks from U.S. presidential candidate Donald Trump last week, suggesting he would not protect countries that failed to meet the transatlantic military alliance's defense spending targets, and would even encourage Russia to attack members that were not paying their share of costs. That not only sparked fierce criticism from Western officials, but has left European leaders anxious about the $60 billion Ukraine aid package bill, which still needs approval through a congressional vote. Meanwhile, Ukrainian and Western leaders emphasized that the $60 billion aid package is vital to Kiev's forces. 2 years on from the start of Russia's invasion, Moscow said on Sunday it had taken full control of the devastated eastern Ukrainian town of Avdiivka. NATO estimated that the U.S. spent around 3.5% of its GDP on defense in 2023, and 18 of its 31 members are expected to meet the target of at least 2% of GDP this year, up from 11 in 2023. The war in Gaza was also among the top issues discussed at the 60th Munich Security Conference. Following a meeting on Friday where senior U.S., Arab, and European officials met to discuss progress on formulating a plan for post-war Gaza that would be linked to normalizing ties between Israel and Saudi Arabia, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said there is an extraordinary opportunity in the coming months for Israel to normalize ties with its Arab neighbors, while also emphasizing the need for the creation of a Palestinian state. Lee Eun-jin, Arirang News.
Here in Korea, only 2 weeks are left for those who want to see Fu Bao, the giant panda at Everland Zoo, before she's transferred to China in early April. Everland announced on Monday that Fu Bao will be available for people to come and see her until March 3rd. Afterwards, she'll undergo health checkups, quarantine, and crate training in a separate space for about a month. All cubs of pandas on lease must be sent to China for breeding once they reach sexual maturity, typically around 4 years old. Fu Bao will turn 4 in July. It is time now to take a look at what's been happening in the world of sports. For that, we have our sports editor, Paul Nee, joining us in the studio. Hello, Paul.
Hello there.
Let's first start with short track speed skating. A couple of South Korean stars are this season's world champions.
Yes, you're quite right. Kim Gil-li and Park Ji-won. The World Cup season ended on Sunday in Poland, with Kim Gil-li finishing top of the women's rankings with 1,211 points from the 6 competitions. Park Ji-won won the men's title after earning 1,071 points, just 19 ahead of Stephen Dubois of Canada. The pair received what's called the Crystal Globe for their efforts. Park won it last season, but for Kim, it's her first after winning gold in the first 5 events. Meanwhile, fellow South Korean So Il-ra won gold in the 500 metres with a time of 41.451 seconds. He's the first South Korean to win gold in this event this season. And in speed skating, Kim Min-sun picked up a silver medal at the World Championships in Canada, the first world medal of her career.
Wow, and moving on to aquatics, South Korea finished the World Championship with a record number of medals.
Yes, 5 medals in total, 2 gold, 1 silver and 2 bronze. Over in Doha on Monday, the World Aquatics Championships drew to a close. South Korea earned 3 medals in swimming and 2 in diving, having managed just 6 medals at all the previous World Championships. It was also the first time that South Korea won multiple gold medals at a single World Championship. Kim Woo-min won gold in the men's 400-metre freestyle for Korea's first world title since Park Tae-hwan in 2011. Hwang Sun-woo added the second gold in the men's 200-meter freestyle to become the first Korean to win a medal at 3 straight World Championships. The duo was also part of the relay team that won silver in the men's 4x200 meters. Hwang Sun-woo now has won more World Championship medals than any other South Korean swimmer. Meanwhile, the diving medals went to Kim Soo-ji with bronze in the women's 3-meter springboard. Then Kim paired up with Lee Jae-kyung to win bronze in the mixed 3-meter synchronized event. Kim is the first South Korean diver to win multiple medals at a single World Championships.
Great to hear. And to table tennis now, the ITTF World Championships are currently taking place in South Korea's Busan. I hear that Team Korea has reached the knockout rounds.
Yes, you're right. Starting with the men's team, Korea beat India 3-0 today to reach the round of 16. This meant a record of 4 wins from 4 to start the tournament, having also beaten Poland, New Zealand and Chile. A team match is made up of singles matches in a best-of-5 format. Jang Woo-jin beat Harmeet Desai 3-0 in the first match. Then Im Jong-hoon beat Sathyan Gana-Sekaran also 3-0. Then in the match to seal it, Lee Sang-soo beat Sharath Kamal Achanta 3-1. The women's team was also through to the round of 16 after a 3-1 win over Puerto Rico on Sunday. The last round-robin game takes place tonight at 8 p.m. against Cuba. A total of 40 nations are taking part in this annual event. Now, Korea was due to host the event in 2020, but it was cancelled due to the pandemic.
Lots still to look forward to then. All right, thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
It's raining all over the country under the mild conditions today. Rain will continue sporadically until tonight, but snow will start to fall around the east coast. As heavy snow is predicted, Yeongdong in Gangwon-do Province has already issued a preliminary special warning for heavy snow. Please be thoroughly prepared to prevent any damage. As for the amount of snow, Yeongdong will receive heavy snow of more than 10 centimeters by tomorrow, and northern Gyeongsang-buk-do Province is expected to receive up to 5 centimeters. It will rain in the south of the Chungcheong-do provinces, and the sky will be cloudy in other areas. The temperatures will drop from tomorrow. Seoul and Daejeon will start off at 2 degrees Celsius. Daily highs will be topping out at 9 in Seoul and Gwangju, Daejeon and Daegu 8 degrees Celsius. Bad weather is expected until late this week. From Wednesday night, there is the possibility of heavy snow in the central inland areas, and Yeongdong is likely to have a lot of snow until late in the week. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is Newscenter for tonight. Thanks for watching. A panel session coming up.